Big Zay.
Morning, Brad.
Morning, boys. What's going on?
Well, there's no style points given out, so the Bears a big winner on Sunday. Not exactly the greatest victory we've ever seen, but they got it done at the end. They took advantage of the shank punt of the quarterback going out and of Russell Wilson coming in, and they managed to rally and win. And it was a very necessary, you might argue, pivotal type of victory when you look at getting to 6-3 with division play beginning very soon.
Yeah, their style points don't matter when they're stacking wins, and as long as it's been since we've seen the Bears have the capacity to stack wins around here, it's a little refreshing to see them find a way to get another game wrapped up in the fourth quarter by a variety of means. It's not a very good New York Giants team, but Jackson Dart looks like he's got a bright future in the league, and the Bears, able to move forward and continue to try to correct and fix some of these things. Process that's a lot smoother and easier when you're coming off a victory.
Brad, I thought that Caleb Williams was outstanding with his legs more than his arm, but both were effective. The running aspect is something that relatively new. His escapability seems to have empowered him to feel like he can run the ball down the field and get to the corner when maybe before he didn't try it as often. The 29-yard career-long run, that was as impressive because the hit he took at the end. But the 17-yarder that he scored on a touchdown was a naked bootleg. What effect will that have on the offense when he's able to run as well as he is?
Well, I think you're seeing first downs in critical situations at the end of games. He had, back up to Cincinnati a week ago, they've got 3rd and 10 on their own 28-yard line, trailing with, a minute to go, less than a minute against Cincinnati, and he had a 14-yard run. I think Theo Benedette got pressured. The pocket was falling apart, and so he took off and got 14 yards. The very next play is a touchdown pass to Colston Loveland. Game over. So you see when these moments pop up, these big runs, and it's kind of coming late in games. I thought there was a stretch earlier in the season where he was turning down those opportunities, right? And he wasn't running. And one of the consequences of that is I think that the Bears were leaving yardage, drives, points, all that on the field. And so before the Baltimore game, I think probably there was a conscious decision of, hey, if there's an opportunity to run, you take it. And he had a 22-yard run at Baltimore. That was really about it. But big run in the Bengals game, a lot of big runs yesterday. And that was coming off of, go back to the Dallas game, and Eberflus knew what he was doing to try to pin him in the pocket, but 12 yards on 5 carries. They go out to Vegas, 13 yards on 8 carries. And then he had consecutive games against the Commanders and Saints where it was 4 carries in each game for -2 yards. Like, that's not representative or indicative of the kind of athlete Caleb Williams is. They need to find the sweet spot, and while the passing game wasn't great yesterday, he was certainly betrayed by a handful of his wide receivers with those dropped passes, which is they dropped passes replaced penalties as the problem for the offense at Hollis Hall.
This segment with Brad Biggs is sponsored by Est-Wing Professional Tools, made in the USA for over 100 years, estwing.com. It was interesting because Ben Johnson made a point in the postgame of saying that he felt it was an anomaly, the number of drop passes, that he didn't see that during the week, and they really haven't suffered through that in that fashion this year, but they clearly were playing in the cold for the first time. It was different circumstances. The ball weighs a ton. It feels like you're catching a rock. I get all of that stuff, but then you see the Giants, and you got a guy in Darius Slay making a left-handed one-handed catch. I mean, you just need to grip the ball better, grab the ball better, catch the damn ball better. I don't think that's any sort of exaggeration. Just far too many, including maybe a couple of touchdowns. And oh, by the way, it doesn't count as drop pass, but what about Nahshon Wright? Didn't he drop a pass in the end zone himself?
Well, that was broken up.
I know.
You're right. I mean, he had it. The guy was able to get it out. Drop passes haven't been a big issue for this offense this season. I'm sure there's some people that would say, you got to be kidding me. But if you look at Pro Football Reference entering Week 9, I think the Bears were tied for 8th best in the league with a drop pass rate of 3%, 3.0. That's going to go up based on what happened yesterday, but it hasn't been a big problem. Have there been catchable passes that Bears targets for Caleb have not hauled in prior to yesterday? Absolutely. There's a big difference between a catchable pass and a straight-up drop. If a wide receiver is having to dive for a ball, it's kind of difficult to assign him a drop on that. Will the wide receiver coach want to see the play made? Absolutely. Little bit of a different animal. If a guy's going full speed in one direction with the defender on him and the ball's on the wrong hip, that's a very difficult catch to make. Should it be made? Yes. Is it a drop? I think that's where you have a gray area, but it was black and white yesterday. There were too many drop passes. Fortunately, after the Zacchaeus one in the end zone, which was brutal, 2 plays later, Kyle Monangai scores on an 8-yard run. So at least that one didn't cost him points.
So, Brad, Montez Sweat has 4 games in a row with the sack. Since you called him out, he's been producing. But I think it's just as interesting that you point out in 10 Thoughts this morning at ChicagoTribune.com, Tremaine Edmunds might be the player that has benefited the most from Dennis Allen, his arrival, his scheme, whatever the case may be. It seems like he's playing at a much higher level. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, you try to engage Tremaine on that topic, and he wants nothing to do with it. It's almost like I wonder if he thinks you're trying to bait him into like, hey, let's pick on Matt Eberflus, which, I have no interest in that. It's like I just want to try to explain why he's more effective in this scheme. But you talk to some other teammates like Andrew Billings, the defensive tackle. He said, these guys are going, and not just Edmonds, but all of them are going downhill more in this scheme. So they're coming toward the line of scrimmage. Like they've had some injuries on defense, but Edmonds leads the Bears in tackles by 32, right? Now, if TJ Edwards had been healthy all year, that certainly wouldn't be the case. But, I mean, that's just an enormous gap to have. And he's been impactful with the 4 interceptions, 7 or 8 pass deflections. You're seeing him come on the blitz more regularly. So it's just he's in a position now where I think his traits, his length, his speed, change of direction, all the things that were reasons that led the Bears to pay him $18 million a season are starting to pop and flash more regularly. Because based on the past 2 years, I think you could look at Edmonds and say, he's been an okay player. I don't know that he's an $18 million a year guy. I think that would have been fair. This year, to what he's put up to this point, I think you look at it and say, the Bears are getting a return on their investment this season in the Dennis Allen scheme.
Brad, you mentioned TJ Edwards, and obviously he had hand surgery and he's going to miss some time. He still has the hamstring injury. How much time does he miss? When do you believe he'll be back? And how severe was the hand issue, or is it a minor surgery again? anything with me is major surgery. With him, it's probably minor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because it's TJ's hand and not mine or yours, it's probably more on the minor side. I wish I knew if it was the recent hand surgery or the hamstring that was the leading factor for him not being on the field yesterday, or if it was somehow 50% of both. Guys can get those things casted up to play in a game. Now, sometimes right off of surgery, they're going to green light a guy to play, but he's going to need a little bit of time to let that thing kind of set. So I don't know, because things can be, they can put a brace on it, they can club it up, whatever. They're going to need him back out there against some of these better opponents. And that became a bit of an issue yesterday for them guys, because initially in that game, the Giants were getting next to nothing from the running backs, right? Jackson Dart was getting a little bit of production. Then all of a sudden, Dart's running the ball, and lo and behold, Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, no one's going to confuse them for future Pro Bowl players, are getting chunks on the ground. And the Bears had some real issues then, because I think having to honor Dart with some of that keeper stuff put them in a spot where they had to then have some holes in the middle that the running backs were able to expose.
Brad, we didn't see much of Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, maybe 22% of the snaps, I believe. You had a really good talk with him, though, and there's another interesting item. He was dealing with a lot after being traded from Cleveland to the Bears. His fiancée is pregnant, went back to Florida. He was, according to the way you described it, head was spinning a little bit as he drove from Cleveland to Lake Forest last week. What's realistic to expect from him moving forward, and what were your impressions of him in terms of talking to him for the first time?
Well, I can tell you this much. He's super excited to be a member of the Bears now. You're leaving a team that's really struggling. I mean, lost again yesterday to the Jets. So he moves up. He moves from the outhouse to he's approaching the penthouse anyway, when you talk about standings and where the teams are at in the division. So with an opportunity to play, the Browns were barely using him. So I think he's excited. What he can do, we're going to have to see. We saw Austin Booker start yesterday, and the Bears did okay defensively. Not great. They're going to need to be better against some of these other teams. So I had him for about 13 snaps. In a new wrinkle yesterday, these guys have been adjusting on the fly. They took Chris Williams, who's like a 3-technique defensive tackle, and they played him at defensive end. He got about 12, 13 snaps at that left end position, something he said he'd done previously, but only in like really big goal line type packages where the offense has got jumbo on the field. So he's playing a defensive end spot, and he said he was comfortable doing that. So with Joe Tryon, we're just going to have to, see how he kind of fits into practice and what they create for him moving forward. But they absolutely had to have some depth, and he's happy to be here, even though he's juggling a lot. The fiancé is due to give birth in about 6 weeks.
Brad, I'm sure you know all this, but the Bears, in terms of their yards per game ranking, from 2017, 30th, 21st, 29, 26, 24, 28, 20th in 2023, 32nd last year. They are now 4th in the NFL. I mean, this head coach is doing something right, very right. And the Bears are producing a ton of yards, and they're a different team than they've been. Unfortunately, yesterday anyway, the defense was struggling. It was interesting to hear him say that'll be he almost said it's kind of a week-to-week, who can play, who can't play type of thing.
Yeah, he's done – the impact's been enormous. And you look at the rankings right now, and you're saying, my goodness, It's not your it's not your father's Bears team anymore. And welcome to the kind of the new age. And yet at the same time, they're just kind of figuring this out. And when I say they, I mean the coaches, the players, they're scratching the surface. Like, there are expectations for them to be more consistent, more powerful, more high-powered. Like, they're going to have an opportunity to get more of these young players going. Like, you know, Luther Burden, you see 50 yards from him one week, you don't see him for a week or two, then he makes a big third down catch, then he kind of goes, you know, it's going to just continue to come together for them, and they're only going to improve.
Great stuff, Brad.
You're the best, buddy.
Have a great day, guys.
You too.
That's our guy, Brad Biggs, football man of the Chicago Tribune.